Hey everybody, welcome to our fourth and final unit. Great job, we're almost there. A couple weeks left of our summer session, and then it will be time to celebrate the completion of English 101. Yay! So for our final unit, we will be writing a definition essay. And I've got the pages marked that you'll be reading in the textbook about definition, and then reading some of the essays that use a definition style and discussing those. So let's take a closer look at the essay that you'll be writing using the definition mode. So opened it up here. Rough draft is due July 19th. That is, I had it miswritten on the schedule. I had July 18th, but it's actually Thursday, July 19th. And then the final draft is due July 22nd, and that is the end of our semester. So you will be choosing one concept, idea, or term to define for this essay. Now we want to make sure we pick something that has some type of complexity to it, something that might be a little controversial or debatable, because you will be writing an extended definition. This is going to be a 3 to 4 page essay. So you want to make sure you pick a term that's got some meat to it so that you have something to write about for 3 to 4 pages. If you pick a simple term that everybody really kind of agrees about the definition, you really won't have much to develop. Now, for our development, we'll be able to use the modes of writing that we've been practicing so far this semester. So we'll be able to use narrative from our first essay. We'll be able to use example from our second essay, and we'll even be able to use compare contrast from our third essay. One of the cool things about defining something is not only do you say what it is, but you can also say what it is not. And so that compare contrast can really help us nail down a term or a concept or an idea by telling us it's not this or this or this, it is this. So definition has a number of purposes, as our author of our textbook explains. Being naturally curious, human beings define in order to understand the fundamental nature of things. I think many of us take definition for granted, that we just understand what things are, or when we don't, we ask questions and we figure it out. But definition can be very complex, especially around those issues that aren't so black and white, and how we define things clearly shapes our perspective on those things. And so definition will be a very useful mode of writing as you move forward in your academic career. For those of you that take English 102 with me in the fall, you'll see that we'll actually use definition in our argumentative essays as well. Okay, and I have some ideas for brainstorming at the bottom of this essay here. So if you're not quite sure what term you want to define, here are some things to think about. What words have I had to explain to my children that weren't that easy to define? So those things that we think we know, that we take for granted, and then all of a sudden somebody asks us to define it, and we're like, huh, that's kind of hard to define. So that would be a good term to use. A term or concept from your work that people outside your field have a hard time understanding. This one's interesting. Labels or identities or stereotypes that you've been labeled or have used to label others. Quick example, I moved to Teton Valley 20 years ago, and because I was what they called a move-in, I was automatically labeled a hippie. So even though I drove a pickup truck and I had horses and goats and all of those things, I was labeled this term or this stereotype hippie because I wasn't a old-timer. And so that has always struck me as really interesting, because hippies to me were from kind of the Vietnam War era, the people protesting the war. That's how my parents had defined hippies. And so that would be a term that I would potentially define here. A lot of history and a lot of controversy and complexity over a term like that, especially how it was used historically to how it's being used in this context today in Teton Valley. Another idea is, what is a term that is a hot topic right now that does not have one clear definition, thus creating debate or confusion or misunderstanding? One term right now that I come across a lot in education is mindfulness. And so mindfulness has a root in some religions and some Eastern traditions and philosophies, but not one clear definition because it's being thrown about in all these different contexts. So those are a few examples or ideas of how you could brainstorm for this essay. So this essay is also going to require that you integrate 2 outside sources. And so you'll want to be doing a little bit of research. You can use academic or popular sources, but I would like you to integrate those through in-text citations, which means using quotes to support and develop your definition. All right, and so you'll read through this closely. I just wanted to hit on some of the key points there about what a definition essay will include. Make sure you think about your term very carefully so that you are picking a term that can be developed in that 3 to 4 pages. Again, a simple term with a universally agreed upon definition isn't going to provide a lot of food for thought or a lot of meat to develop in your essay. So I look forward to reading your drafts and your discussion posts, and if you have any questions, reach out. And thank you for a wonderful, wonderful summer semester. I really appreciated working with each of you and look forward to finishing up the summer with you.